Rain is historically the most powerful weather effect in the Pokemon games. When you think of a Rain team, Generation 5 OU might come to mind. Politoed gained the ability Drizzle in Gen 5, which creates permanent rain on switch-in, and Rain teams are some of the most common structures you see at high-level play. You may also think of the Pelipper Rain teams that have existed since Gen 7. Even though Drizzle no longer set permanent rain on the field from Gen 6 onwards, with the help of Damp Rock to extend those rain turns and powerful Swift Swim sweepers like Mega Swampert and Kingdra, Rain teams were excellent in Gen 7 OU. But what about in Gen 3? Can Rain teams function in a world where no OU ranked Pokemon has Drizzle and the Damp Rock also doesn't exist? In this generation you have to manually set Rain by using Rain Dance, and that only lasts for 5 turns. Although that may not sound great, Rain teams are actually pretty powerful in Gen 3. Let's take a look at how Rain teams work in Gen 3, why they're a surprisingly viable choice, and go through all the viable abuses of Rain from best to worst. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that we can prevent Iron Mugulis from using a rain-boosted Scald against the universally beloved and morally altruistic Pokemon Magcargo. Thank you. Rain has a lot of fun applications in Gen 3, but the main and most obvious one is that it can enable Swift Swim Pokemon. Swift Swim is an ability that grants double speed in the rain, which can turn an otherwise unremarkable Pokemon into a game-ending threat. With only a single turn of setup, Swift Swim Pokemon can outrun and threaten the majority of the metagame. To take advantage of these Swift Swim threats to the fullest, you probably need to use Dugtrio. Dugtrio is excellent on various different team styles in Gen 3, but one of the best is Special Offense. On these teams you give Dugtrio a bit of special defense so it can live a modest Ice Beam from Blissey. With this extra bulk you can reliably 2-hit KO Blissey with Earthquake or Beat Up, and with Blissey eliminated your special threats become greatly enhanced. Pokemon like Zapdos, Celebi, Jirachi and Suicune are no longer easily checked and stopped in their tracks by Blissey, and Swift Swim Pokemon synergize with Dugtrio very well for the same reason. Not only do you love being able to eliminate Blissey reliably, being able to eliminate Tyranitar, the permanent Sand Setter, also really helps. Tyranitar can nullify Swift Swim by switching in and replacing the rain with Sandstorm. Luckily in Gen 3, Tyranitar does not also get a special defense boost from its rock typing. That was a Gen 4 mechanic, so switching Tyranitar in against water types is obviously very unsafe, but it's still nice to have an option to eliminate Tyranitar completely and not worry about your rain getting overtaken by sand. The most common and most powerful Swift Swim user in Gen 3 OU is Kingdra. Kingdra has an amazing defensive typing of Water Dragon, which has so many useful resistances and is only weak to one type, Dragon. Since most of your speed will be provided from that Swift Swim boost, you can invest your EVs mostly into bulk, allowing you to live hits, giving you safe opportunities to use Rain Dance and start sweeping. What's great about Kingdra on special offense teams is it has both defensive and offensive value. Kingdra can operate quite decently and improve your matchup against physical Salamence sets in Pokemon like Charizard and Moltres. And thanks to Swift Swim, Kingdra can give your team some much needed speed. Sometimes special offense teams can struggle against enemy Pokemon like Aerodactyl and Jolteon. These fast threats outrun most of the common special offense members like Jirachi, Celebi, Suicune and Zapdos. Even if you successfully eliminate their special walls, sometimes they can just out-offense you with their own threats. But Kingdra really helps to remedy that. All it takes is one turn of clicking Rain Dance to outrun the enemy Aerodactyl and turn the momentum back in your favor. I think Kingdra special offense teams are some of the best special offense teams, and Kingdra improves so many matchups for this archetype. Another solid Swift Swim user that you see fairly often is Ludicolo. What Ludicolo accomplishes offensively is pretty similar to Kingdra. They both use big water stab and ice coverage, but Ludicolo has a couple unique qualities that set it apart and make it a better choice on certain teams. Ludicolo has a water grass typing, which in most situations is going to be worse than Kingdra's water dragon typing. Ludicolo is weak to flying, which makes it worse as a check to physical Salamence sets. It's also weak to bug, which can be unfortunate against Heracross. But Ludicolo has ground resistance, which is actually really valuable. If your team struggles a little bit at switching into Swampert, Ludicolo helps greatly because it resists both water and ground stab. Ground resistance helps out versus Flygon and Metagross as well. Kingdra is not as solid against Metagross as Ludicolo is. Even though you resist Meteor Mash, those neutral earthquakes actually do impressive damage. Not only does Ludicolo have the benefit of ground resistance, it also has access to Leech Seed, which is one of the best moves in the the game. This makes Ludicolo a bit more valuable in the mid game. Leech Seed is a really safe move to click that will punish almost any switch-in except a grass type. Ludicolo is a little bit safer to use defensively than Kingdra is. Ludicolo can actually heal back a bit of its health thanks to Leech Seed and also create safe entry points for its teammates. These are the two main Swift Swim Pokemon that you're going to see in OU, and the vast majority of the time one of these two Pokemon is going to be the best choice. But there are also some fringe Swift Swim Pokemon that have niche uses. Omastar is quite a cool one. This is a Pokemon with a pretty poor rock water typing. It has a lot of unfortunate weaknesses. Unlike the other two Swift Swim users, it's weak to grass, which is pretty bad. But Omastar also sets itself apart a little bit. It has a really high defense stat and normal resistance, which can help out against stuff like Snorlax. You can also punish an Aerodactyl locked into Double Edge. And another advantage that Omastar has is access to spikes. Special offense teams don't commonly run a dedicated spikes setup, so compressing spikes as a fringe option on your special threat is actually really useful. And in some matchups, even if you don't use this Pokemon as the main win condition with Swift Swim, just having access to spikes is a great secondary game plan that can enhance your other threats. And the last Swift Swim Pokemon I'll talk about here is Gorbis, who I didn't realize actually had a niche, but it was recently used in Kalos Invitational by the player Ban Manaphy. Mono water typing is actually quite good, and Gorbis has decent stats as well compared to the other Swift Swim Pokemon. It has really high special attack compared to Kingdra and Ludicolo, but that alone wouldn't be enough to make it worth using. What's really cool about Gorbis is that it has access to Baton Pass. What Ban Manaphy did with this Pokemon is use Substitute, Baton Pass, and a Pataya Berry, so you can use this as a threat with Rain Dance and Swift Swim, and also pass a Substitute or a Pataya Berry special attack boost to a teammate, enhancing your possible avenues to victory. I always appreciate a Pokemon that's flexible like this, that can be used in different ways from game to game. This is a really cool one that I personally would like to explore more myself. I think it has a lot of potential. But of course, the utility of Rain does not just end at enabling Swift Swim Pokemon. Another great benefit to Rain is that it clears Sandstorm from the field. If you eliminate Tyranitar and use Rain Dance, Sandstorm is never coming back, which can actually greatly enhance many teammates. Suicune is a Pokemon that really appreciates having leftovers chip healing back. The same can be said for Celebi. And another Pokemon that really appreciates a lack of sand is Heracross. Salakberry Heracross with Swarm can be a monstrous game-ending threat that just powers through and outruns everything. But the problem with this set is that it requires you to substitute down to that Salakberry, and if Sandstorm is on the field, it only takes a couple turns for you to fall to that chip damage, which is why running this Heracross set on a Rain team is perfect. You can clear that Sandstorm from the field completely, and all of a sudden this Heracross turns into an amazing win condition. Salakberry Heracross can actually help improve the consistency of Rain teams. Sometimes being all in on special threats is a little bit of an unreliable way to play. Some teams don't run Blissey as their main special wall, they'll run something like Rest Zapdos or Snorlax, which are a little bit more difficult to pin down. So having a physical presence on the team and a physical win condition on the team can actually help you at matchups like that. Heracross is the main Salakberry sweeper that you see on these Rain teams. Another one you might see is Metacham, who can run Salakberry and Reversal. Overall, I really like Rain teams in Gen 3 because I think they work differently to almost every other gen and stand out in that way. Rain teams in other gens are kind of obvious in how they're structured. You put Pelipper on and you put a bunch of Swift Swim Pokemon and something like Ferrothorn that benefits from Rain being up. It's like the team builds itself. But Rain teams in Gen 3 can be more intricate. You have multiple different Rain abusers you can choose from and different ways to take advantage of the Rain on the rest of your team. And often the best Rain teams are not all in on one game plan. They have flexible ways to play and multiple branching win conditions. This video was the winner of a poll over on Patreon. Thank you to everyone who suggested topics and voted, and congratulations to Biff the Banana for having the winning suggestion.